the topic of our very first Do It webinar for practitioners and others who are interested in supporting these young social entrepreneurs. Our topic is the requirements of children in school settings, especially how to train and work with teachers, and also how to rearrange the classrooms. And we will also be talking about other special requirements. Our guests here are Roberto Vdovic. He is from Zagreb, and he has been a big part of Do It pilot activities. And our second guest is Christian from Biotehna Lab. He has been working as the head of mentors and also working with the artists in the lab. So could you tell me a little bit and our audience a little bit more about yourself and what kind of work have you been doing within the Do It project and our entrepreneurs?
Who is first?
I would say Roberto.
Okay. Thank you, Antti. As you said, I'm Roberto. I'm working at the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Architecture, who is partner on the Do It project, and we are working on pilot activities and with the kids, but also with the facilitators. But I'm also co-founder of FabLab in Zagreb, who is, let's say, whose members are partner also in this project and participating on Do It activities from the position of making and prototyping. So mainly I'm also teaching students how to use computers, how to use new technologies, and this with a high education with the students at the university. We also, as a FabLab, work with pupils in primary schools and students in secondary schools and try to mix them together in different workshops. So Do It workshops give us some kind of framework with a very specific topic in social innovation and entrepreneurial education, and linked to makers, which was also very interesting for me personally and for our institution as a Faculty of Architecture. I hope this is okay for the start.
Yeah. And how about you, Christian?
Thanks, Roberto. Thanks, Antti, for inviting me. My name is Christian Tkalec. I'm from Slovenia, Ljubljana. I work at Kersnikova Institute, where I'm head of mentors. So my part of Kersnikova is in pilot activities, also working with facilitators and with kids. But my work especially to work with facilitators. So we started with facilitators training program, where we have now the 4th generation of them. So now we're developing as well some more intensive program for facilitators, because at the moment we have program that lasts for around 4 months, but now in the autumn I think we have to develop also something shorter for Do It especially.
All right, so our topic is working with the teachers and rearranging classroom. Could you comment what has been your largest challenges and lessons learned when you start from this sometimes old-fashioned teaching where the students listen? It's been also called the banking model of teaching, to where the youth, where they really start to learn by doing. So what has been the challenges around this when you start to really change the teaching model?
Yeah, when we started at Kersnikova Institute, we didn't really had a lot of issues, because it was all of a sudden it was a different different room. It was not school, so even the kids started to act differently. But we had a lot of challenges in school, because first of all, it's a formal education and everything is set for the formal education and not for non-formal, what we do. So the first thing was to just change the appearance of the classroom. So what we actually did, but that was after a couple of tries, of course. We found out that this works quite well. We just moved the tables on one side and everything that we had, and we sit on the floor. The next thing was, this was already a really huge thing for kids, because all of a sudden they weren't thinking about, okay, I'm sitting in the classroom behind the desk, I have to listen and write down stuff. So all of a sudden, in the beginning, they didn't know how to react on it. At the same time, but what we also thought about it, that we should change the perspective of how they learn and how we give them knowledge. So we don't want to be teachers who stand up on the higher level and teach them while they sit. So we also sit down on the floor. So we're all on the same level, which we found really, really, really important, because all of a sudden you're part of them. So you're not the one and only who knows everything, but you're part of them. So they also get you give them chance to have their own voice, and they got courage to tell you something, even if it's wrong.
So what is your perspective on this, Roberto? You said that you had a background as an architect. So what are your experiences in arranging the classroom?
Yeah, so first intention was to bring kids to our Fab Lab, but because we deal and we were chosen to work with kids with the special needs, we decide that we will practice on school premises, so in school, in classrooms. And yes, same like in Christian case, we rearrange. When we came there, we rearrange tables and move them and organize in different way. We have a makers or prototyping corner on one side, some resources corner on the other side, and because we work in the groups, usually tables are organized in the couples and in a rows and columns. So we rearrange some islands where kids were working on their projects. Same. Also, that's most easy part, to rearrange a space. Maybe not completely change it from the classroom look, but rearranging tables were most welcome from the kids, because usually, as Christian said, there is a teacher on one side and they are on opposite side. So in these islands, we are just moving, they are moving around, they work in the groups, and that was some kind of benefit compared to the traditional classroom. We are, of course, not able to change a whole room, but we choose a room carefully. So we choose a classroom which is devoted to the art. So this classroom usually has painted walls with some interesting kids work on the walls. So it was not classic classroom at all. But more challenging was try to make a complete transfer of, not transfer, but working and co-working together with kids in different way. Try to move them from their traditional waiting and listening stage when they are listening to the teachers, to their more engaged stage where they are participants in their decision making and critical thinking and all the stuff. So we follow some procedure which we also developed for this Do It project, using Project Canvas, where we give opportunity to each kids to express their interest and their idea what to do, which problem to deal with, and how to work with the group. So this was also not so problematic how was to because we include also some of their teachers as a facilitator, how to make them believe in kids' potential and what they can do without their help. And that was most challenging, how to make those teachers very open and truthful to the kids and to their ideas, and not to steer them to the direction of their opinion and so on. So there was 3 levels: space, which is we done what we can do, and then work with the kids. It was not easy, but much easier than with the adults who have to change the whole mind and perspective of how they are teaching those same kids in some other time. So that was 3 levels of problems we are tackled with.
What kind of advice would you give to starting mentors who are just about to start working with teachers and youth or children?
So how we start is that we make a preparation which include also kids. So we include the teachers and kids in co-working preparation of actual pilot activities. So at this stage, we use this because we have kids with special needs, so we didn't know if we are capable to deal with this, and is there any specific needs for them, how to work with them. Did we include them if we keep them separately, if we include also other kids, if we make groups together, mixed or not, and so on. So my advice is, as Christian said, teachers have to be on the level of the kids, not be superior, not be in charge, and give this leadership to the kids. And you are, as a facilitator, as a teacher, you are just steering if there is some real problem, but give them and trust to the kids when they want to do something, and trust them they are capable to start and finish with some solution. So work with them, not teach them, not try to implement your opinion, but listen very carefully for kids' opinion, how to solve some problem. And this is most challenging for adults, even for me also. But I'm trained by the years of experience. But for those new teachers, it's a little bit hard to lose this position of person who knows everything and who has to answer on all kids' questions. So this is something what I will suggest, that just listen to the kids and work together and co-work together on preparation of workshop, or solving some problems, or solving some projects.
Yeah, I agree with. Yeah. Sorry, I agree with Roberto. Yeah, it's. I work with facilitators that are from high school to, I don't know, 50 years old, I would say. And the most problems that we get is from the older generation, because they're already used to how they give knowledge, which is the traditional one, of course. So it's the hardest thing is for them to listen to the kids and to let kids work and do stuff. And what's maybe also point of our work, I always give our facilitators one kind of secret, that when you're developing a workshop, if you cannot work with kids at that point to develop it together, think as a kid. Think if you're working for 10-year-old kids, think about try to put yourself into their shoes and think about if it's going to be fun for them. Is it going to be boring? Is it going to be interesting or not? Is they're going to become creative because of your workshop? They're going to think like that. So this is maybe the addition.
Yeah. What have your experiences been with this approach? Has there been any additional challenges you have had to overcome when taking these approaches, or have you after iterations, have you been overall really happy with the outcomes? Or do you feel is there still something you need to develop further?
Well, we have to constantly develop new stuff, and we have to constantly evolve our attitude and the things we do. But I would say that we're doing a pretty good job at the moment. Most issues that we had was with teachers. When we have it in the school, sometimes teachers are as well on the workshop, but most of the time they're not, because they're just, okay, it's free hour for me, so I'm out. We cannot force them, of course, to be on the workshop as well and to assist. But those that are in the beginning, they're a bit scared about what's going to happen, because in the beginning, it looks like there's not going to be any order or anything. So they're really afraid. So we had always preparation with them as well, that how it's going to look, what we're going to do. But when they see it, they're always a bit scared. So I think we have to work more with them, but we're getting in the autumn with this additional project. They're going to work more with teachers as well.
All right. Both of you have been involved in a lot of technology or maker movement. So has there been, what is your solution, and what kind of challenges have you overcome when you are taking these maker tools or technology into the classroom that might not have been previously equipped to handle those things?
Yeah, for us, because we were on premises of the school, we have to bring, and we usually go to the schools and bring our fab boxes, which are developed for different purpose and workshops, which include different tools which can be used in school premises. And but regarding Do It project, we were not so extensively use some let's say 3D printers or CNC machines or something like that, but we were more focused on the process. And usually, that's my opinion, those are just the tools, and real change and real challenges in changing the process of learning. So prototyping, it's a great way, and believe me, on each workshop, kids just can't wait to go to this phase of prototyping. But we are also very carefully to follow a whole process of design thinking. So they are really challenged to think about problem which is related to either to the global sustainability goals, or to some local issues, or maybe some issues in the schools, or some issues between kids in the schools. But they have to define the problem. They have to find what is the cause of this problem. Then they have to think about how to solve this cause and how to solve this problem, and then they are slowly come to the prototyping. So this first stage is really demanding. And just to add something what Christian previously said, yeah, expectation and teachers were really afraid what kids will done following this procedure. But after, especially on the first phase, they were really surprised what kids after 15-20 hours of work can develop as a project, which are have a very solid brainstorming about the problem, about the cause, about solutions, and how those can impact and be implemented in the world, or in the school, or in the surroundings. And they build with those tools. Maybe sometimes it's a cutter, maybe it's just a soldering machine or something like that. But they develop a project. So everything was done in not so many hours, and they were usually very surprised. They were very skeptical. In the second phase, they were more trustful to us, and they believed that we can do some interesting projects. But that was something what I want to add to Christian, what he said. It was, they were really first very afraid, and then very surprised with the result after the workshop.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roberto. In the end, they're all very happy and very keen to get the new ideas into the classroom as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, my experience maybe with the with this maker movement in the classrooms at the moment, as I know, in this project we don't collaborate with schools directly, but we have a lot of experience with schools already, because we're doing workshops for 6 or 7 years now. And the first thing that teachers or anybody that is organizing it is the cost, because they see 3D printers, they see laser cutters, they see everything that is huge, that needs a lot of money, or everybody should need their own iPad or whatever to build a robot, which has to be bought, and you have Lego robots, and you have everything, and everything is expensive, of course. But what we do as well at Kersnikova Institute is try to add this value of open source and open hardware as well. So there are a lot of open source solutions or open hardware solutions, which are not that expensive as it would be some Lego constructions, which is also really, really good stuff. But some primary school in Slovenia cannot really afford probably the whole set for everybody. So we try to show them that even in this maker movement or DIY bio movement, it depends which workshops we have, that you can also, with small budget, you can give kids this space for creativity. Because what we also try to start this art thinking, where you cannot really show them how to think, or there is no process. You just have to build the environment, so it's so it gives kids this opportunity to be creative. And with this, you can do really low budget. It's really, and they're in the end, they're really. Of course, I give them my business card, so we communicate afterwards where they can get this, because of course, in some village in Slovenia they cannot get, I don't know, Arduinos or you name it, or whatever else we're building it. So we help them as well then with the tools and with material, and with help with the how to do the workshops and everything else.
Maybe if I can add something, for sure, open community and open source and open resources are one way, and we also use this. But we also, as a part of those workshops, especially with the Do It, with the global sustainability goals, we try to raise their awareness about resources around us, and we also use and before actual workshops, we ask teachers and kids to bring everything from their home which they believe they want to throw it away as a waste or trash, and they really collected some impressive resources which we use in as a part of prototyping in a prototyping phase in Do It activities. We of course add some sensors, we of course add some electronics, and bring some tools to connect all this, and some lamps and power supplies and so on. But also some kids bring some motors and some power from their old toys, or those who are not functioning anymore. So it was also fun part to check if this motor actually is working or not. But this is also part of the teaching. So this was very important part also for us. And also for teachers, as Christian said, it's not necessary that you have a Lego sets or whatever organized set, which also are promoted in the schools in Croatia, probably in Slovenia, but you can use the resources around you, and you can even do more with this because you raise awareness with the kids, but also with their parents, and they also think about resources, and this is, I believe, also some secondary impact of our activities. So we were really emphasize this let's say waste usage and resource usage as a part of Do-It activities. So our and we will apply some projects on Do-It challenge. So you can check that those are actually some trash parts or waste parts put together to show a whole idea of the project. So what I think this is also very inspirational for the facilitators, for their teachers, because actually in one school, so we work with 2 primary schools and 1 special organization for kids with special needs. So in one school, after first phase of Do-It action, they actually built a stereo cutter from waste. One grandfather put together some parts, some wires, give some power supply, and this is also made from the waste. So I think that's actually really practical result and impact of this project, at least in one school. So, but there is many such experience and something what we can demonstrate. But I think this is very important, besides using open source, which is for sure, also using resources which is around you, and especially for facilitators, and to make kids believe that they don't need to put and throw away something what they don't use, but maybe find another way how to use it, maybe to hack it, maybe to change the purpose of this toy or something. So this is just to add something to Christian.
So like with special needs and all kind of youth, there are different kind of backgrounds, and one of the backgrounds is, of course, less privileged maybe than other families. So would you say that that is one of the techniques that could be used to make the Do-It approach more approachable for those kind of youth?
Christian, or I can add, yes. We also deal with the less privileged surroundings, and I think Christian mentioned this. It's about creativity. How to creatively use some resource you got. It's not about high expensive tools and how to use them interesting, but also how to use those very ordinary stuff and how to transform with your creativity to something new. And this is what we try to achieve, I believe, in Do-It activities and Do-It workshops. And I think this is also entrepreneurial, because you make something from nothing. And this is what makes you good entrepreneur also. It's not problem to make something from already good and lot of resources, but if you don't have resources and you make something from these low resources, I think this is very entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I agree with Roberto. We also, well, from one point, we don't really have, because we're based in Ljubljana, and most of our workshops are also based in Ljubljana. So we have kids that are from the city center or from the city. So we don't really have non-privileged kids, or how I would call them. But what we also try to teach them the upcycling system of how to reuse something that you would throw it away. So we also use what we started with electronics. Let's say most of our cables are from the old computers, from the inside core stuff. So yeah, we also used, I don't know, CD-ROMs to make a microscope for your mobile phone, because there's a lens inside, blah blah blah. But the other thing that is also, I think, very important in thinking about how to use stuff and what to do from what you have, is set of workshops that we have from DIY Bio Concept, because all of the DIY Bio concept, as it started also with makerspaces, they build what they had, and the DIY bio scene at the moment is at this point where you have everything in the kitchen, so you don't really need anything extra for some low level experiments or low level teaching. So we also use a lot of these techniques to help how to grow bacteria, water bacteria, to teach them about microbiology, genetics, and other fields.
Okay. That's a great point of view from both of you, and we have covered most of the set themes for this webinar. But do you think there is something important that we have not yet discussed about that we should cover?
Christian, any ideas?
No, my question is if there are any questions from the listeners, watchers. Are there any?
Unfortunately, yes, there were few, but unfortunately we have not had any in the chat.
Okay.
But that also means that we have covered the topics quite well, or at least I'm very satisfied with the lessons learned, and I hope that we can use this knowledge we have created during this webinar to help new mentors to get started, because also I am started as a teacher as a university some years ago, and I know that being a first-year teacher is like sometimes scary enough, and especially if you are doing something really new like this do-it and entrepreneurial approach, like having mentors or support or new material, it can really make a difference. So thank you, Christian and Roberto, for participating.
Maybe
Yes.
Just to add something.
Yeah.
What is pop up to my mind, because we have this not situation, but we were one of the partner who work also with the kids with the special needs, and it was question, and it's always pop up question, what specific should be done for those kids. And usually some of those are in this category because of some problems with the teaching and so on. But our experience and what we try to implement, and that was in coordination with also with evaluation partner and so on. So we just mix those kids and kids or other kids together to work together. And I was really surprised after phase one, because teacher who work with those kids were surprised because they keep concentration, they were able to follow. We have a very intensive workshops, and they were very skeptical if they will able to work together for, I don't know, 30-40 minutes, but we work for hours together, and they are actually going back to workplace, to classroom, to start working when we have some breaks. So they were really engaged, and so my opinion is that we just work together with all in the same way. We don't separate them, or we don't make very specific, but we take more care, and this is purpose of facilitator, that you are more carefully and looking if those kids can follow, if you can maybe motivate them more Maybe you talk with them more. Maybe you give them some specific task to keep them motivated, but don't make anything special for them if it's of course needed because of some physical requirements or something like that. So this is my purpose. Usually they are somehow emphasized as a special need, but actually they can, at least from our point of view, they can work very well together with others if this way of teaching is differently. So if they are participating in the teaching, in their learning, they can follow this. If they are just listen to the teacher, then they have problem with the following this. So this is also very good for maybe those kids who are not capable to follow regular teaching. Those kind of workshops are very well also to include them and to involve them in learning, which is a little bit different. So they can fit with their dynamics into the group, and group can also benefit from them. And we have a very interesting proposal from those kids, and whole group work on their problems. So this is something what I want to say, because this is some kind of special requirements. So this is what this new kind of teaching and what Christian and I try to promote. It's not about tools. It's about how to transfer knowledge and how to learn together and co-work together on the projects. And then you don't have problem with the kids with special needs. Not so much problems. Just maybe from very specific topic, but I think it's very important for the promotion of whole idea, and to maybe some facilitators can understand how to deal with maybe those kids who needs more requirements, and this new way of teaching and doing, learning by doing and making a project-based teaching is the way how to deal with those kids.
Christian, do you have anything to add from your experiences?
Well, I agree with Roberto. He also has a small amount of experiences with dealing with special kids or kids with special needs. And we have one institute here in Ljubljana that also works with them. So we worked with them. And yeah, it was the same as he explained in the beginning when we started to talk with them, to have a workshop with them. Their mentors, teachers, whatever they are called, told us that it won't be possible because they cannot do this, they cannot do that. But when we started to work with them with hands-on DIY, do it together, do it yourself concepts, they made everything till the end. It was great for them. They really enjoyed it. They learned a lot. And of course, their teachers was really impressed that they could do something like that on their own. But then in the end, after a year, when we talked to them again, they said that, we're more than welcome. But when we asked them if they change anything, they said, they have too much stuff to do. They cannot, which I also understand, of course, because they have a lot of stuff to do. It's not a small amount. But with this approaches, you can really, kids can learn more than they do at the moment. So that's better for everybody.
Yeah, so we'll have to keep working at it to create positive change, I hope.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you, Christian and Roberto, for sharing your expertise. I think this is a natural point to conclude, and I'll store and edit the recording and make it available then on website and YouTube. So thank you so much for attending, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Antti, for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you, and see you maybe on some other webinar.